All right, everybody. Now, this is Supper Sessions. This is Brian J. Springer. I am hosting a program today that we call Mommy Juice. I think everyone is ready. Everyone is here. We're going to start from the left. Kara Collier.
Hello.
Nice. So we have Kara Collier from iVineyard Advisors, correct?
Correct.
Mishi, just Mishi. Just like Cher and Madonna, it's Mishi. I've given up. I think the rest of us have all given up on whatever surname, just Mishi. And I think you finally earned just being called Mishi.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Cher.
Yes. Yes. You're a survivor. Taub Family Selections.
Yes.
We have Janet Dyer from Northwest Wines and Shiverick Imports, and also the producer of the film
Corked. The film.
Corked to the film, yes.
Yeah, and then we have Corked, the feature film.
Oh, you're making a full-time film now.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
It's big time exciting, but yeah.
And then we have Katie Finn. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great, good. And Katie, and you were with Desert Wine Shop in Palm Desert, correct?
That's right.
Nice. And then Karen Blackburn.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Turn yourself up as high as you can, if you have any volume control. Yeah, I hear. I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah, go ahead. Karen Blackburn from Serendipity Wines.
That's correct.
Nice. Thank you everybody for being here. The one thing I do not want to do is do any of the talking. I'm just going to moderate. So, we are here to discuss on Mother's Day. For one, thank you all for being mothers. And we want to discuss, why don't you tell us, let's go around the room and tell us what it is. Give us we already did your names, but just tell us sort of how you got here. Give us a little like a resume is a silly way to put it, but just tell us what your history in the wine business, Mishi.
Oh, I get to start.
Yes.
Let's see. I was in the restaurant business, and I was a buyer, and then I met you.
The rest
And
is
I was gonna interview with another company, and you said, I don't want to work against you on the street. You should work for ours. And that's how it happened.
It was amazing how much that fear of you being our competitor was enough to get us to find the money to get you on the street.
I don't really think I was offered the job. You just thought that I was going to be offered the job, and you're like, you know what you should do? You should call the corporate office and tell them that you need an orientation.
Nice.
I technically never was given or offer, so I called the corporate office, and I called them and said, hi, I'm going to start working with this company. I need an orientation. They're like, you are? You're going to be answering phones here with customer service? I'm like, no, I'm going to be on the street selling wine in San Francisco. And they're like, really? And I told them whose team, and so they let me come. That's how it started.
Of all these years, I've never known that. I love how much complete my idiotic assumptions get somehow.
So thanks to you, I got the job, whether they offered it to me or not.
And that was with what company?
Epic Wines. The good Epic Wines, the old Epic Wines.
The original.
Yes.
Cheers to that. And then where'd you go from there?
Right. The other thing is that you're my work husband, ex-husband.
Yes,
right?
work
for
yes.
12 years.
Work husband.
So then we went to Vinthology.
Yes.
And then after that, Pellegrini, and then Taub.
Yeah, and you're with the Taub family now.
Oh, no, I forgot Phoenix.
Oh, Phoenix. That's right. Yeah. And you cover what? You cover California?
Northern California from Big Sur to Fresno.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Katie Finn.
All right. So I feel like it's kind of how we all got into this. I was in the restaurant business, became a certified somm, ended up in Hawaii with Roy's, and Hawaiian island life was not for me. I was far, far too white girl Howley to survive on the islands. So ended up moving back to the desert, Palm Springs area. But ironically, I had met this guy named Brent Broza, who was in Hawaii. And I was like, Benny, I need to get out of the restaurant business. I need a job. I'm back in Palm Springs. I don't know what to do. And he was like, hey, I know this guy, Dave Snyder. He's with Epic Wines. Let me make a phone call. And next thing you know, I too was the OG crew with Epic Wines, and I was in SoCal, unlike you and Mishi, the NorCal crew. And so I had gone from the restaurant business to the distribution side. Somewhere in between there, they moved me up to Napa, and I got to be on the NorCal side and was with you guys. And then kind of that bizarre takeover happened, and right in the middle of the transition, I was on maternity leave, and I feel like it was so fortuitous because I left on maternity leave, and it was still Rob Pro running Epic Wines, and I ended maternity leave, and it was Bob Foley, and I kind of was like, yeah, if I'm coming back to work, I don't really know if this is my jam anymore. So I ended up, after 8 years in Napa, convincing my husband to move back to Palm Springs, and I ended up in the retail sector, which I'd never been in before, and now I'm the owner of Desert Wine Shop. And I got to say, I love it. I became one of the owners last year, and it's pretty awesome being on the other side of the table, having swept a bag and presented wine. I have so much sympathy
Nice.
for my reps who come and see me, because I know what it's like. So yeah, it's pretty interesting now that I've been the restaurant side, the distribution side, and now the retail side. It's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for being here. Nice.
Thanks.
Janet Dyer.
Well, I've got decades to talk about, so I'm going to try and cut this short.
Janet, we have 3 hours if you choose it.
Oh, okay. So I started right out of college. I went to UCSB. I started in Santa Barbara, and I found out years ago that I was the first woman to sell wine wholesale in Ventura County. And from there, I went to McKesson Wine and Spirits, which used to be the biggest network of distribution houses and importation houses in the country. We had 40 wholesale houses.
Okay.
I worked for the distributor first. I was one of the people that critiqued the first Master Somm course.
Nice.
Which was put together by Gerald Dasher, Julia Child, and Robert Mondavi.
Wow.
Because McKesson owned the California Culinary Academy, and they decided to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so from the McKesson Wine Company, I was promoted a couple times. I went to work for the import company headed by Gerald Dasher, who's master of wine, and he mentored me and for 5 years. It was fabulous.
Nice.
And I'm going to have to cut this short because it's too long. I owned part of a distributorship at one time, part of Adventures in Wine.
That's right.
Brands into California like Leonetti, Patricia Green, Shanann, Owen Rowe, and I went to work for Juilliard Alpha. I became the director of national accounts. Actually, prior to that, I was the first PR marketing director at Clope Gas, and I tasted every Monday morning with Andrei Chelichev, which was really cool. And currently, I work for 2 companies. I went out on my own like 20 years ago, and I made more money than I ever made, and I had 2 kids, and I was a single mom, and it was a very brave but crazy decision. But I ended up working for 6 companies and making tons of money.
Nice.
So I put my kids through Catholic school, Europe, vacations all the time, and it was great. And they're here now. They took me to brunch today. It was fabulous.
Nice.
And also, I think you watched Corked the film.
Great film. Really great. Yeah.
I'm so glad you liked it.
Really fun. Yeah.
I got back into acting about 15 years ago, and I ended up going back to school at night. And I've been in about 25 films and about 5 stage plays. I'm going to be in Uncle Vanya in September.
Nice.
Which is really fun. Christopher Coppola's involved again, so
Nice.
that's really fun. And then I thought, so many people, customers of mine, kept saying, "You got to write a book."
Yeah. Oh,
it's
absolutely.
just like nuts. Yeah. And so I did, and of course it was boring, because you start writing about things like bricks and Appalachians, and then next thing you know, you're asleep. And, so anyway, I found this fabulous lady named Lori Shockley, who became my business partner. I told her my story, and we wrote Corked, the short film. So you can go online, Corked the film.
Like YouTube? Just go to YouTube?
No, it's not on YouTube.
Just type in on their browser, Corked the film. Yeah.
Corked the film. And you'll see it. It's 12-minute award-winning short film. It's fantastic. It's attached to a feature film, also called Corked. And that is another award-winning script. It's crazy, and we are so excited right now.
Nice.
Because we are talking to investors, and so we want to get a few wine companies to come on to partner with us.
Yeah.
And then we will attach talent to our film Corked.
Is it fair to say it's a pretty poignant statement about what it's like being a woman in the wine business? That's what I took out of it.
It's funny. I let Gerald Dasher read the script,
Uh-huh.
and like right now, if I let any of you read the script, I could get sued.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it's he said, "Oh my God, it's very Me Too, Janet." And I said, "But it was written before Me Too."
And it's a true story. Yeah. Nice.
So anyway, it's very exciting, and I hope everybody listening watches Corked the film, which is kind of a prelude to the feature.
Okay.
And because everybody I know that's seen Corked the film says they want to see more.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, it's going to be so great.
I hope after this show ends that you'll see the numbers of your views just shoot right up afterward.
I hope so.
Let's move to Karen Blackburn.
Hi. It's hard to come after something so incredible.
No particular order. No particular order. No.
But yeah, I came into the industry when I was 22. And in college, I had studied international business, and I really wanted to be in the wine industry, and I didn't know why. It just sounded like that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, what do I like to do? I like to drink wine, and I like to travel, and I like to eat meals that I can't afford. And I just had it in my mind, at 20, that I would get to do that if I got into the wine industry, which is true. I mean, that you do get to do that. And so I started in retail. I worked in a wine shop. I had to convince a wine department at a upscale grocery store. I had to convince the manager to hire me. Fresh out of university with my degree, and told my dad, I'm like, I'm moving to Austin, and I'm going to take a job for $9 an hour. And I started there, and I learned a lot, and I saw that distribution was probably a better fit for me. And so by 23, I was a sales rep in Austin and did that for a couple years, and then got into brand management. And I have done that on the distribution side for the past 12 years.
Nice.
So.
And and can you define your position right now?
I'm the director of brand strategy for Serendipity Wines, covering both our Texas business and our California business.
Yeah, nice. And full disclosure, we work together.
Well, so I'm going to jump in because, Karen, I had to convince the general manager of the first restaurant that I applied for when I was in university. I was a poli-sci major. I had to convince them to hire me. I think at the time I knew there was a difference between red wine and white wine, and that might have been the extent of my knowledge, but I knew there was something about it that intrigued me. And I loved hearing that you say that you had to like convince them to hire you, because it's so funny when you're passionate about something and you think like, you know, just give me a shot. And I swore that I would study the wine list backwards and forwards. And then maybe like you, and I'd love for you to kind of comment on this, but the more I started learning about wines, the more I realized there was so much that I was learning about politics and geography and history that was paralleling what I was learning in my wine studies to earn my right to have this cocktail waitress job. Cocktail waitress, like a retail, right? Like we're earning our way to get to be like low-level employees, right? But please take a chance on me. And listen, drinking wine was way more fun and studying about that than, you know, perhaps the other studies university-wise. And you know, finding out about the history of Staten-Ufte-Pop, or finding out about, you know, the White Terror in Spain and how all of that had to do with what was happening in the wine world is what captivated me. But it was that begging to get that job that was the impetus to kind of dive into that world of knowledge that was like, whoa, wait, there's more to this than just red and white.
Nice.
Yeah, and the begging for the job, that was the 5th job I begged for. I in college interviewed with, at the time it was Glazier's, didn't get the job. Like out of college, I mean, they would recruit, like my roommate got recruited. I'm like, why did like you get a second interview? You don't care. And she's like, well, because I'm a waitress at this, you know, restaurant. And that was like on their criteria. Like that got you to the next level of interviews. And then I came to Austin on spring break, my senior year of college. Also had fun in Austin, my spring break, my senior year of college, but interviewed with like the 2 upscale grocery stores, a big independent retailer that's now out of business, and they all flat turned me down. And I just convinced one manager to hire me on part-time Sundays and like Wednesday evenings. So I had a full-time job collecting taxes on behalf of the state of Texas. It was the worst job ever, but I wanted to be in Austin and I wanted to work in the wine industry. So taking a job at the comptroller's office was my means to get here. And so I would go to work at a grocery store after work and on the weekends to earn my keep. And then, you know, I showed up on time every day for like 2 weeks and they were like, you're hired full time. You know, it was just like, you can show up on time, which was the base level for working at a grocery store in the wine department. But it was I learned a lot in that job. I learned a lot about customer service. I learned a lot about wine. I learned a lot about how to be an employee, because at 22, you still need to learn that. Like you're expected to show up on time to work and then actually do your job and then leave, you know, and that doesn't seem like a, you know, revelation, but fresh out of school, it is to learn how to actually be a good employee and a good member of a team. So,
and Karen, where'd you originally come from?
Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, nice. Lubbock or leave it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Lubbock or leave it.
Guns up.
Well, yeah. Perfect segue. Kara Collier, iVineyard. What is iVineyard Partners?
iVineyard Advisors.
iVineyard Advisors.
LLC. That's my consulting company. But
give us a quick history in the wine business. What's your
quick?
Well, or I mean, take as much time, but tell us about wine.
Thank you, because I came prepared, and it all circles together, as does Brian. Well, the 6th degree. So here we are. I remember when you hired Mishi. I was
your girlfriend back in San Francisco. And you're like,
nobody hired me.
Yeah, that was remember the narrative.
like, I met this Japanese American girl, and she's so adorable.
Yeah.
And she's wearing heels, and she's going to go around San Francisco selling so much wine, and I'm so excited. And I'm like, yeah okay. Whatever. I'm your girlfriend. I don't really care about wine other than we drink it. It's great. I'm studying French. Please leave me to my French studies. And that was the segue into the wine business for me. It was just very incidental. It wasn't planned or purposeful. I didn't even want to be in the wine business. I saw what you did. I saw how much work it required. I saw how much dedication you had to have to your suppliers and then your buyers, and it seemed a lot for a little amount of money.
That's not changed.
For some people. Some people make a lot of money.
So
Janet used to when she had her own company, but not when you work for someone else.
I work for 2 people, but I'm still an independent.
Yeah. That's legit. Nice. And so, Kara?
So, I learned the wine business by watching, and I learned the wine business by seeing you go to Napa and Sonoma and go through the back door with the producers.
Yeah. We did a lot of that, yes.
We did a lot of that, so it was osmosis. But really, when I finished with French at USF, I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I had a meeting with a gentleman who owned Wines and Vines, Wine Business Monthly, winejobs.com. His name is Richard Schell. And he's like, oh, you can work in the industry. I have this magazine that I'm trying to grow. And I was like, well, thanks, but no thanks, because, Texas and all. I can't, this is before working remote was a possibility for women. It was like, oh, be in the office every day.
Yeah.
But so I chose that, and then I was like, oh, real estate makes sense. Maybe I can sell some of these wineries and vineyards that some of these older people have established in Texas, and maybe, they're going to have all these lifestyle vineyards, and that started my foray into real estate through wine. I was inspired by the huge amount of professionalism here in California, and I thought maybe we could do some of that in Texas. That was in 2009.
So you helped sell vineyard land, correct?
Well, I tried. I mean, it was very hard. I got my first listing, and I made many, many trips to the hill country, to Mason, to the middle of nowhere, and I met producers, and I just went and shook hands and said hi. Yeah. And they're like, who are you? Kind of like very like, oh, there's a woman in the wine business selling real estate. Interesting. We don't really need you, but okay, yeah. And so that was the real estate part. And then I kind of got distracted with real estate, because real estate's very quick, whereas the vineyard real estate deals are very slow. So I had a lot of hard knocks, and it wasn't until more people kept pushing me to go more into the business that I got more into the business. So I just started studying wine. I started drinking more wine. I started going actually outside of Texas. So started traveling California, and then France, and then Portugal, and then I was like, okay, I'm bitten by the bug now. What do I do? So then I started taking more menial positions to learn wine, like working in retail and working as a waitress and trying to become a somm, at a steakhouse, and then becoming a buyer and just getting really into the hospitality part, so I could get more exposed. And then I just kept going. So now it's this long journey. I'm middle-aged, 44, and it feels great. It feels great.
If that's middle-aged, you're dying early.
You asked for that, Kara. By the way, you have this much class to look forward to.
That's fantastic. I'm honored to be amongst this panel. I don't know how I got here, but it was Brian. It was you.
Oh, well.
Because I wouldn't have done the things I did without having that little foundation of what the big boy wine business is in California, and seeing how how it's done, like on the streets of San Francisco, like how you take those producers and you introduce them to the buyers, and then we have a meal, and it all happens relationship to relationship. And that's never changed in the wine business. So now, if I can say, the part of iVineyard Advisors has grown into being supplier representation. So I serendipitously got into the barrel business through your introduction. And so now I'm repping barrels, French oak, and it's great. And
you're often I see your posts that you're showing you represent some champagnes or something, right?
I also do represent a champagne. That's right.
Yeah.
It's part of the French connection. The French connection opens a lot of doors. Speaking French has been, well, my parents kind of joked. They're like, "Oh, you studied French? Oh, great!" Like, what are you going to do with that? And, the wine business is around the French industry very much. So everything touches, from suppliers to most of the wine courses. If you don't speak French, you have to learn. You have to learn part of it. So
nice.
Yeah, so the champagne thing happened because I went to Champagne, and also I was introduced. And it always seems to come back to serendipity wines somehow.
It does. You hear that, Karen?
I hear that.
An ex-executive of Serendipity Wines introduced me to a champagne producer, and the champagne producer invited me to Champagne, and he showed me champagne, and he said, okay, so you rep some of these in Total Wine. And it's been a beautiful working relationship. It's very old business selling champagne, and to see how the export manager is able to manage all the regions, and then I'm just like a little tiny piece of it of Texas is a great honor. But yeah, it's Champagne Cattier. If anybody's going to the wine store,
you want to spell it real quick?
Cattier.
Nice. Okay. Nice. Cool.
So I'm all over the map. And I think talking about wine side projects, I think everybody has a wine side project.
Yeah.
Like, we're all exposed to so much, and we want to make an impact on so many things. And so you have to pick the thing that, is the bread and butter that pays the bills. And then you also want the project on the side that you're working on. And all of us in the wine business seem to be very close, and we just want to help each other out in a lot of ways, and it ends up turning into work. At first it starts as like, oh, I'll help you with this one side thing, or yeah, I'll be there, I can give you the thing and give you the card, and make the introduction, and then the next thing you know, you're doing something else, but it's still around wine and food and people, and I love that aspect. I mean, those relationships for me are what keep me in this business. Yeah. We all support each other, and there's been some incredible women in my experience that have helped me in my wine education. I would not be pursuing the diploma were it not for some really awesome ladies who are like, yeah, Kara, you can do it. It's just been a great journey.
Yeah. Do what you love, and you never work a day in your life, right?
You don't. Yeah, you stop working and you start just planning for the future and figuring out, okay, where am I going to make an impact? And it feels really rewarding when things happen all together.
Yeah, we're going to lose the Zoom people in a minute, so I wanted to so thank you all for being here. This is a bi-weekly conversation about the food, beverage, music industry, and I wanted to. There's times when I've thought that it's not appropriate for me to host the show. Obviously, I'm not a mother, and I'm never going to be one. But I had an interesting conversation with one of my suppliers.
But you have one.
I do have one. Yes.
Yeah.
So
she was here.
Yeah, and she was. Yes,
great.
she was. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have a conversation, even as a man, just to for you guys to. I don't think we spend enough time, and let's take. If only, God forbid, there's only 3 hours where you get to talk about what you go through, or how much your children may have impacted, even made better, or what it's done for. So Karen, I'm going to put you on the spot. I asked Darcy if I could say that quote, but she said you were better to quote it. Am I putting you on the spot right now, or can you quote to that? You remember that email she sent me?
I don't. An email that Darcy sent you?
She sent it back to both of us when we were both talking about you guys having doing the show, and I'm going to try to find it awkwardly. So, and she mentioned you two were having a conversation about here. I asked if I could just quote it, and she said that she wanted you to speak to it. Actually, let me just find it here.
Sorry,
No.
I feel like Darcy and I just say such profound things to each other all the time. It would be so hard to think about what profound thing we said.
She wrote me this email that seemed very, very poignant about how it feels. Exactly. Can you basically give me your thoughts on what it's like with being a mother in the wine business?
It's challenging, but I don't think it's challenging because it's just the wine business. I think being a working mother is challenging anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also really rewarding. And I know I have realized that since having children, I am better at my job. I think exceptionally better than I was prior to having children, because my sense of prioritization and time management has to be at almost, I feel, superhuman levels. And I'm sure every other mother on this call feels the same way. There's so little room for error that you have to stay on top of it constantly. And the earth beneath you is shifting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that sure-footedness and being quick and realizing that you can kind of recalibrate what you need to accomplish at any given moment, which is a honed skill. Nobody's just born with that skill.
Mm-hmm.
You learn it. And I became a single mother about a year ago. I was thinking about that today. It was really last Mother's Day was the beginning of my single motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's next level.
Really?
Like being a single mother. Yeah, it is.
How?
It is.
I mean,
next
other
level.
than the obvious. How so?
Yeah. Not having the support of a co-parent means that like you are 100% all your kids have.
Yeah.
Every doctor's appointment, every school pickup, drop off, missed day of school, fever, doctor's appointment, you name it. It's all you.
Yeah.
Can I chime in just for
Yeah.
This is a conversation. Yeah.
She couldn't be more correct. I raised two kids, mostly on my own, in the wine business, and you have to be a master of time management. It's absolutely true. And your best friend is another single mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, yes, but I don't even have a babysitter yet. But I mean, I have the baby daddy, as we say, my husband, who's awesome, and he's very flexible because I think it's different in what role that you do. But if you're in sales, like you were talking about, you got to bring the suppliers around. I think last week there wasn't a night I got home before 10 p.m.
Wow.
So I'm not, except for 2 of those nights, Atlas was with me. We hit 4 counts after school.
Nice.
And he's here right now, being really good and quiet.
Nice.
Because of the screen.
Yeah, the screen's placate. Yes, nice. Yeah, one of the kids.
Brian,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, please.
Brian reminded me of the conversation that I had with Darcy last week. We all went to one of the wineries that we represent. They were having a crawfish boil, and we all brought our kids, and it was a really fun way. And I was making a comment about I had really killed it at work that week. I mean, I was just absolutely on it. 110%, did really good work all week. But when you are 100% on fire at work, other parts of your life suffer. My kids ate fast food 4 nights that week.
Wow.
The laundry sat in a bin undone. I didn't really take that great care of myself either. I did get like a workout in, but it was just this juxtaposition of if you're really excelling in one aspect, as a mother, there are other aspects of your life that are not getting the attention because you only have so much you can give. And on any given week, it changes. And that's, Darcy felt the same way. I mean, we were talking about, we can really kill it. We can slay it at work one week and not slay it as a mother. Our kids are still provided for and they're fine, but they didn't get exactly what they needed from us. Or, when I was married, my marriage didn't get what it needed out of that week, because it's really hard to answer to all of those things that are pressing up.
Tell Surprise, Karen, we're not superheroes. I mean, it's I just feel like something's got to give, and we have to forgive ourselves. I think the panel of women here today are amazing in that we're overachievers. Obviously, we are passionate, we're committed, not only to our jobs, but to our children and to the life we live outside of our jobs. But without our jobs, we can't provide for the children. And the balance, it's always a tight wire that is walked between providing all the things that having and being successful in our job provide, and being there for our children. And one day, you just have to think that, our kids are going to grow up and they're going to see a role model. They're going to see someone who, filled the shoes in a man's profession. I hate to go there, but I mean, It's true. I mean, we're walking in an arena that women typically, haven't walked in, and we're still, breaking boundaries, and we're still, kind of coming up against all kinds of crap that, I mean, we don't need to discuss here, but we all have done it and we've all experienced it. We all know it. It need not be mentioned. And we're coming home to our kids at the end of the night and we're kissing them and making sure that they have the things that they need. And at the end of the day, as a working mom in the wine business or any business, I mean, we recognize we're doing what we have to do. The beauty, I think, of what we're doing is we love what we're doing. And I think if we didn't, if there was that, dragging of the feet to go to work every day, we'd have to sit back and think, what the hell are we doing and why are we doing this? But we don't. And I know that, the motivation, yes, there's money. And I would love to talk more to the woman who made all that money in the wine business.
Yeah, you're the only one, because I get paid less than any other man.
As Karen was saying, look, we eat really well, we drink really well, but the money, that comes, I don't know where that comes in, but the eating and the drinking, that's
the only reason why you made so much money is that you had your own business and you worked for yourself. Now, if you worked for another person, that wouldn't be the case.
That's true. When I was so taken care of when I worked for big guys, especially when I worked for McKesson. I mean, my expense account matched my salary. I had a car. I was trips to Europe all the time. I mean, it was fantastic. But when I worked for McKesson, I actually sat with a supplier from Seagram one time, and a woman that was working for him, and they were having a national sales meeting in Las Vegas, and she said, I can't go. I'm a single mom. I don't have childcare. I have an 8-year-old. And he said to her, now this is in the 80s, you guys, okay? If you don't come, you're going to lose your job. He said, you either get your mother out here, or you get a babysitter, or leave the kid alone. It's only a week. Leave some food out. Like the kid's a dog. Hello.
And the toilet seat up. That's what I do for the cat.
At the same time, I had another boss who said I wouldn't hire a mother. I mean, they wouldn't hire a mother back then. It was so bad, you guys. It was so tough breaking into the wine business. I can't tell you how many stories I have. So hopefully we'll get, Cork the film will show a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because it shows the early part of my career.
But
Nice.
how amazing to overcome and to figure out in a world full of just so many things and to figure all that out. Maybe we can say some clues to some other women who are struggling right now. How did you overcome?
I think in the interview, you don't tell them that you have a kid.
Well, yeah,
if you want the job.
Point. You just talk about
first of
your
all-
professional life, what skills you have, and then the
That's
rest.
crazy.
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
that's absolutely true.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
I definitely hit it.
Yeah, you did. Well, one thing Mishi did that I really think is extremely smart is that she worked every aspect of the business. I think that's very important for anybody in any business is learn it
Yeah.
and do everything.
Yeah.
I had lunch in November with a former customer of ours who used to own a shop on Castro Street. And yeah, and he said, you know what I think some of these people's problems is that they've never done wholesale. They've never been buyers, or they've only been restaurant people. If you've only been a restaurant person, you're getting people catering to you all the time. It's not reality.
So your advice is to
do everything.
Do things that you maybe didn't think you could do, didn't think you wanted to do.
Exactly. Work in a winery, bottle wine, go through the whole thing. Do everything you can. Get every job. And be a buyer and be a seller. Because, it's amazing.
I mean, that's what my mentor pushed me to do.
Yeah.
He was like, you need to get into the nuts and the bolts of the wine business. You need to know how all of these things work. How do wineries produce wine? You really want to know the wine business? Go know the wine business.
Yeah.
Go do harvest.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean...
And it's not just making the wine. What do you do when you have it? You got a whole warehouse full.
Well, yeah, then you have to go
you
talk to
gotta
the
go
executives.
learn how to sell it.
Yeah.
And you have to see what wines the executives want to take and what wines they don't want to take and why and where the voids are. So
That's
many
right.
aspects of all this wine moving around the world to end up in a glass.
That's right. That's right.
Is there one thing that I've sort of gleaned off this, and again, I'm a I'm a man in this industry, and one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation is because one thing I don't think I ever really thought about is how it seems like every one of you here all had to kind of ask for the job and kind of cajole, whereas it was sort of expected that I would be good at it because I'm, and I'm saying that as a man.
It's so funny. When I was in Ventura County, my boss had given me a big briefcase. So I'd walk into shops.
Oh, I remember those, yeah.
And they'd say, oh, you have the cigarettes? You're selling cigarettes. I need some Winstons.
Nice.
I
That's
need
crazy.
Marlboros. It was hilarious. And then I'd say, no, I'm selling wine. And they'd go, a chick selling wine?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
It was nuts. I got pushed in a cooler once by a competitor in Thousand Oaks because he wanted to go first. I was in
Whoa.
a lineup. And then, it's like no respect,
Yeah.
And so, you got to think of Rodney Dangerfield. He was a salesman,
I do want to give you guys a little time check. It is 5:50. We got to get a little bit of IDs out of the way.